All right, so we've got our first person controller set up, and what is the next step? In this video, we're going to set up an object that we can pick up, and after we've picked it up, we can throw it. And also we'll be able to have objects that can be picked up and thrown, or any other thing you wanted to do with those. Once you've picked them up, it just depends on what you want to do with it. But I'm just going to be covering picking up and throwing, and so we are going to set that up. But first I'm going to try and fix this clipping issue that we still have, this momentary clipping. One thing you can do to fix that is to make the player's collider a little bit bigger so that it won't clip into the geometry. So if I go to the player, we can go to the motion controller, and if we look at the player in the scene view, you can see this motion controller, this collider that's around the player. It looks like a cylinder, the green cylinder there. It's a little small, so we can expand that a little bit by just making the radius go up a little bit. So if we do increase the radius a little bit to more closely match the player's width, that's about right, that's better. And then it should prevent us from clipping into objects. I'm in play mode doing this, but let's see if it fixes the issue. So yes, you can't get up as close to the object, so that will definitively fix that clipping issue from happening. So just wanted to fix that before we do the rest. So I'm going to have to fix that again. So 0.35. I will set to 0.35. Next, we want an object, so to be able to pick it up. So I'm going to just create a sphere. So a sphere, and it's quite large. We want it to be small, and we'll put it near to the player. Where's the player? If the player is over there, we're going to bring the player. Maybe we'll bring the player over. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, and then this can be at 0, 0, 0, or 0, 1, 0 as well, or 0.5. Anyway, so what we want to do is make that smaller. So like if we're looking at the size of the hand, the player's hand here, so if we want to like put it next to the hand here and then see, scale it down a little bit. So click that, and then we can scale down, let's see, maybe around 0.2, and then see how it fits into the hand. So that's fairly good. And or we can, if we want more of a ball, we could do like 0.1. So it's like a ball you could pick up. That's about the right size. Anyway, so we have our ball, and we're going to give it a material. So we'll create a material. Create a folder for materials. And we will create our ball material. And that's just going to be URP lit, and then we'll just give it a color, something like red maybe, and then we'll apply it to the sphere, so it'll at least be easy to see. And we're going to put it on the ground. And what we're also going to do is give it a rigid body, so it has physics. So let's add a rigid body to it. And if I'm going to put the linear damping to 0.5, that's the only change I'm going to make. If you don't do that, this ball, you'll be able to kick this ball way off into the distance and it won't stop, so it'll keep going. So let's just try this and see. We should be able to kick this thing just by walking towards it. So we have our ball. Yes, we can kick the ball just by moving. Our feet hit it. So that's pretty good. That's what we want. That's what I want anyway for this. And then I just want to be able to pick that up. So let's figure out how to do that next. All right, so in order to pick up something or to throw something, we're going to need the animations for that. So let's find some animations for picking up and for throwing. So I'm going to go over to Mixamo, and we can get those for free over here. So I'm just going to use the Ybot character, and then we're just going to look for animations. And for one, we need the idle animation as well to start with, because we do need the model just so that we can get an avatar for the other animations, because every animation needs to have its corresponding avatar. So to get the avatar, we're going to download this with skin and FBX for Unity. So that will give us the actual model, which we don't actually have to use, but it lets us generate the avatar. So we get the Ybot idle, and then we're going to get a pickup animation. So picking up, we'll use this one. And we'll download this one, this time without skin, because we don't need the actual model with it. So, and the other thing you can also do optionally is you can change the arm space and the object weight. So it's not going to be too heavy, the object. So bring down the object weight, so they'll go a little faster. So we'll download that, and without skin. And we're going to need a throwing animation. And we'll see what they have here. Throw object, perhaps. Let's see. Or we just have a regular throw animation. Okay, and we can change the overdrive, bring it down, or we can bring it up. Makes it faster. That should be okay. And we'll download that without skin. So now we have 3 files here from Ybot. So let's get those into Unity. So we're going to create a models directory, or an animations directory. Or put it right here. And yeah, we'll just keep them in this animations directory. So we need to import these animations. So we click on the idle. This one has the model included in it. So what we want is to change it to humanoid, create from this model for the avatar, and hit apply. And if we go to animation, we should be able to see it working, the idle animation. I don't think we're going to use the idle animation, but now we have an avatar. So if we open this up, we have the Ybot idle avatar that we need to import these picking up and throw animations. So we just change this to humanoid, copy from other avatar, and click that and use the Ybot idle avatar. And do the same thing for throw. Humanoid, copy, Ybot idle. And we should be able to see those animations. Okay, good. So we've got those in. And so first of all, we have the interactions already. So there's already an interact trigger. So the interact input button is the E key by default. So it will check if the player is controllable and do interact if it is. And when you hit the E key, so if it is, then it'll interact. And now what we want to do is change the sphere and add an on interact trigger to it. So we want to do interactive on interact, and for the player. So if the player interacts with this, then we want to add an instruction. This is where we're going to put all the logic to pick up the ball. So first of all, when you're picking up an object, it's called a prop in Game Creator 2. So we're going to check to see if the player already has a prop in the right hand, and if it does not, then we can pick up the ball. Otherwise, it won't. We don't want to. So if we want to check conditions and search for and then use has prop attached. So check if the player has the prop on the right hand. We want to check if it's not in the right hand, if there's nothing in the right hand. And you can change the bone that you're using there too. So you can use the left hand if you want, or whatever other bones. So if it doesn't have a prop, then we want to pick up the ball. So how we can do that is use the attach. We got add instruction, attach prop. We want to attach the prop. So we can attach a prefab on the player right hand or an instance. In this case, our sphere is in the scene, so it's an instance. So we're going to attach the sphere to the player's right hand. And here we have the bone right hand. But let's just see what that looks like first before we change that. So if I interact with this, so it is now attached to the player. If we look at the mannequin, armature, hips, spine, right shoulder, right arm, right forearm, right hand. The sphere is actually here. So, but the problem is it fell through the ground or something. It's actually falling. I think it's falling through, or it's gone shooting off into space. Because the problem is it has a rigid body on it. So we need to turn off the rigid body when we're picking it up. So we want to set it to is kinematic. So that's one problem we need to fix. So let's do that. Not add condition. We want to add instruction. Is kinematic 3D. Yeah, set is kinematic false on self, because this is attached to the same object that the rigid body is on. So we want to turn off the set, or we want to turn off, or we want to actually turn it on. Turn on is kinematic. We want to turn on is kinematic, and then attach. So let's see what that does. Okay, so now if we go over here, we can see that the player has picked it up. So it goes here by default to the right arm, the right hand bone it's attaching itself to on the right hand. To put it in the hand, we want to do an offset. So we would put it, so we do like something like that. We'd want, so it'd be like Z 0.065, Y 0.13. But there's an easier way of doing this. So what we can do is, instead of using these here, we can use a, instead of type value, we can use handle. And a handle, let's just create it in the animations folder. Game creator, characters, handle. So this will be your pickup handle. This basically allows you to take those same parameters and just put them in this object, and then you can adjust it from here. So we're going to put it in the right hand, and then there's the local position and rotation that we can fiddle around with once the ball is in the hand. So the ball will appear to be in the hand. So we want to put the handle in here. So it tells it to use these values in order to do that. So I think this was at 0.13 and this was at I don't know, let's just do 0.04 and see where that ends up. Let's try and pick it up. There we go. So yeah, it's in the actual hand now. Now, what we can do is click the handle here and adjust it in play mode. So you can adjust it. What we want to do is adjust it using the, oh, not that way. Select the sphere, and then we can adjust it in the scene view. We want to get close to it. Okay. So we want to like put it in the hand like that. Closer, and then copy this Z 0.064, and then we can paste it in the pickup handle. And Y is at 0.13. So we want 0.13 here, and then we can stop play mode. And notice it will stay the same. So you can put it into the pickup handle during run mode, and then when you stop and come out of play mode, it'll stay there. Because this is like a scriptable object. So when you can actually edit them in play mode. So now it's in the hand. You can see it in the player's hand. Fairly good. And then when we're running around, we can see now it's actually not. In run, it changes the hand position. So it's a little off. It's a little off, but on idle. On idle, it's like that. So depending on the character you're using, it might not change the hand position when it's running around, because not all models will do that. But that's something it would need to be adjusted so that the animation for walking or running would take the fist sort of thing and move the hand. You have to move that. You'd have to have a different animation where the hand position doesn't change. Or you could have another position of the arm that is like a holding animation, something like that. But we're not going to worry about that for now. So now we've got it picked up. So we want to actually play this animation when we're picking it up. So let's add that to the instructions. So here's what we want to play a gesture on the player. We're going to do it before we do all that. Actually, after we set it to kinematic. We're going to play the gesture, which is just going to play the animation. Put this picking up animation clip in there. And it says wait to complete. So we'll see how that works out. So now when we hit E, it'll go into that animation and pick up the ball. And then you'll see that the ball was still on the floor until it finished, because the animation is actually a lot longer than when we want it to actually pick it up. So if we look at the animation, we can scrub through it and see, well, where do we want the actual ball to be picked up, which is right around here, 2 seconds in. So we want in like 2 seconds, the ball should go into the hand. Or like just after 2 seconds. 2.02 seconds and 4 frames. But I'm just going to do 2 seconds. So let's do that. And we can add, so we can turn off the wait to complete. So it doesn't have to play the entire animation. And then we're going to put a wait. Wait 2 seconds. And then attach it. So we'll wait 2 seconds, then attach the instance, and then it will play, and then it'll go into the right hand. Oops. Let's see if we can get it. So we're going to pick it up. It's in the hand. And the gesture finished. Okay, so we can pick this up, but notice we can continue moving the character while we're doing it. So see, I can move way over here, and we're still, and it's still picking it up. Okay, so we don't want that. We don't want the character to be moving all over the place while we're picking up objects. We want to turn off the control of the character while the gesture's playing. So that's what we want to do here, is add some instructions here. So is controllable, we'll turn that, we will put that right here and turn it off at the beginning of this trigger. Just before the gesture, and then at the end we'll turn it back on. So then you'll be able to control the character after the ball is attached. So let's take a look at that. So now I'm trying to move, it's not working, but now it is working, so I'm skating around here. So the reason for that is the gesture does not wait until to complete. So, and it's still playing. So the wait 2 seconds is fine. The attach is controllable. Happens before the gesture finishes. So the gesture's still playing. So that's why it looks weird when I was sort of skating around there, because the player was moving, having picked up the ball. However, the gesture was still playing. So what we want to do is stop the gesture as soon as the ball gets picked up. So we can stop gesture on player, stop gestures on player. You can do a transition too, so like maybe 1 second, so it sort of like fades it in. So if we do stop gesture after the 2 seconds, that should help this issue. So let's see, where's the ball? Okay, so picking it up, and then yeah, see, so now he starts running after he picks it up, and there's not that skating issue being skating around is a lot less now. So let's see here. So if we move it to after the attach, that might be a better place for it. Or actually after the, and then is controllable, okay. And then let's take a look. Yeah, so that's much better. So once we've got all this into this trigger, I want to make it an action though instead. So what we want to do is so that we can put all of this, because let's imagine we're going to have more than one object you want to be able to pick up. So I want this to be a prefab, but like this pickup object, but I want each one of these objects to be just have the on interact trigger, and then it'll check if the player has a prop, and then it'll run an action, which will be a prefab on its own, and then it will. Then you can just have this prefab be run and have it the same for every item that you want to pick up. So let me just create an empty for that. So this would be the pickup action, and then we'll add an actions to it. And then if we look over here, we can copy all of these over. You can't copy and paste. You can do one at a time. So what we want to do is run the action. Run actions. I'm going to make the pickup actions a prefab right away. So let me create a prefabs folder. And we'll drag it in. And so now we'll be able to copy and paste in these actions. So the is controllable will be what we start with. And we'll just paste each one in. And we have to reassign this game object. So we can use self for this instead of the game object. I think that should work. And then, okay, so we've got all of the actions we want. And then so we can remove them from the sphere. I'll get rid of all these. And then we'll run the actions, run actions, and that'll be this action. So in here, we can delete this one, because that's an instance. In here, we have all the actions. You might think that it is kinematic equals true on self won't work because now it's in an action, but it actually will work because when it runs the actions, the self is considered to be the object where the action is being run from. So this self will be whatever object is running this action. So we got this one and the self here, the attach instance self. It should work. So that's that. So let's see if that works. First of all, and it does work. So let's create another object. So I'm going to make this a prefab. And then I'm going to create another object. So let's create like a cube. And then I'll call this a box, let's say. And we're going to make it a little bit smaller so it's easier to pick up. 0.2 maybe. And then, so what we need to do is add a rigid body to it. Maybe I'll put 0.5 on it. Same thing. And then all we need is the trigger, the on interact trigger, check conditions, has prop attached. If the player does not have a prop attached, then we run the actions, pickup actions. So you can reuse the code much easier then. Although, like, we could put this check inside the action as well, and that would probably work as well. Might even work better. So let's add that. Try that too. So now we have the check in there, and then if I go here, we can just run the actions. Run the action, and that's it. And see if we can pick this up. Where's the other? There it is. And yes, we can. And pick up the box. And then we can make it a prefab. So, and then we can get rid of that too. Okay, there it is. Oh. Okay. So that is the picking up part of this process. Next, I want to cover once you've picked it up, how do you throw the ball? So we'll cover that in the next video. So stay tuned for the next video. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one.